Are you like me and you like great books? Well, I found a place that has a lot of great books. A traditional publisher right up in Macon County, Deep Read Press. DeepReadPress.com, that's the website to find out exactly what they have. And again, they got traditional books. They are a traditional publisher. Deep Read Press does a lot of things that I particularly like, and most of them has to do with great books. So if you're looking for a publisher to publish, or if you're just looking for a place to find a lot of great books, it's Deep Read Press at DeepReadPress.com.
Welcome to the Deep Read Press Show. I am C.L. Gammon. I'm your host. I'll be with you today. Also, our co-host, Connie Howe, she'll be joining us a little bit later to talk about one of her books. We appreciate you listening last week. We'd like to congratulate Kim Horton for winning a free book in our contest. We will have a contest every week, so you can take part of that. This week, the third person that emails us at deepreaderpress@gmail.com with our contest word will be the winner, and we'll get a free book. We will have the contest word at the end of this episode. Today, January the 25th, marks the third anniversary of Deep Read Press. Our success is due to our authors. Our authors have made us what we are, and we're happy for it. And we thought we would celebrate our authors today by talking about a few of them and their books. We were intending to have a live event this weekend here in Macon County, Tennessee, but due to snow, we couldn't do it. So we thought we'd do it today on the show. Also, I'll talk a little bit about how Deep Read Press came about and what we've been doing over the last 3 years. When we started this company, Deep Read Press, we wanted it to be about the authors. We wanted to find good authors and to let them share their visions with readers. We didn't want to get in their way and make it about us. We wanted to make it about them. We put together a crackerjack staff. And then we went out and looking for good authors. We didn't have to go far because we have plenty of friends in the business. The first person to publish a book with us, and I say with us, not by us, because we consider it a team effort. But the first person was Anita Robertson, who wrote a book called Awful Spirit. We released that book, and we're really proud of it. The book is set in Paris and uses the Eiffel Tower as a backdrop. It's an eerie book about a ghost, but it's more than that. It's also about a coming of age for a young lady. It's a book that I think that most of you would really enjoy. You can find it on Amazon or at our website, www.deepreadpress.com. Another book of ours is by a young lady by the name of Tanya, let me get her name right, Tanya Ridner Wood. She wrote A Darling Little Christmas. It's a holiday romance set in small town Kentucky, and it's a beautifully written book that if you like romance, you like holiday stories, A Darling Little Christmas is one that I think you would really like. Tanya, I had known Tanya for years before she decided to write with us. She has been a prolific author, and we're happy to have her as part of the Deep Read Press team. John Leslie Oliver has published 2 books with us. John is the historian of Trousdale County, Tennessee, and he's an excellent author and a wonderful illustrator. His first book with us was called The Illustrated Answers to Life, Love, Religion, Fame, Politics, Sex, and More. It's a book with his drawings and quotes by famous and not so famous people. It is inspiring and many times humorous. His second book is called Ghosts on the Cumberlands, Frights and Tales from the Dark Waters. It is a book of eerie stories which have grown up along the Cumberland River in Tennessee and Kentucky. And some of these stories are quite old, and some of them not so old. And of course, he augmented that book with his illustrations as well. We really like this book, and we we, uh, we encourage you to purchase it. We don't accept handwritten manuscripts as a rule, but we made an exception with a young man named Johnny Potter. Mr. Potter lives with bipolar disorder. Uh, he sent us a handwritten manuscript, which became the book Good Morning Jesus, The Musings of a Bipolar Man. Now, Mr. Potter, in his book, he has letters, he has essays, he has poems, all of this talking about his life, his dealing with bipolar disorder, his religious views, and other things important to him. Miss Jennifer Gale wrote a book for us called Old Miller Cave. It's the very first book published through our imprint, Strawgrass Press, and it's also our very first audio book. Um, the book, The Old Miller Cave, follows the adventures of a group of misfit teenagers. Now, these adventures are not the Andy Hardy type adventures. They are supernatural in nature, but the book is inspiring and heartwarming, and is something that I believe people of any age can enjoy. Brenda LaCrone Seberg also wrote a book for us. It's called Up the Twisted Path. It's our very first book that was published through our imprint, Devil's Breath Press. It's also available as an audio book. It's two scary stories that will set your hair on edge. I guarantee it. All of our books you can find at our website, www.deepreadpress.com. You can find them on Amazon. You can find them on Barnes and Nobles. If you want them, you can find them, and I hope you do want them. Sheena Newberry Wilder uh, has written two books which Deep Read Press has published. The first was Davy Crockett, The Fabric of a Tennessee Hero. This book takes a little bit different look at the Davy Crockett story, and it fills in some blanks that history doesn't provide. Her second book is called Wild Bill Donahoe, From Corrupt Cop to Raceway Mogul. In this book, Sheena details the life of William Donahoe, called Wild Bill. He was a police officer in Nashville who went to prison for corruption, and then later he brought he brought NASCAR racing to Middle Tennessee. He's a very interesting man. Here's Sheena to talk a little bit about herself and her books.
Hello, my name is Sheena Wilder. I was born a Buckeye in the great state of Ohio, but have been a member of the volunteer state for over 50 years. My home is in rural Tennessee. I am a proud member of Deep Read Press Publishing Company and excited to be a celebrated author in Deep Read Press's third year in business. Deep Read Press has graciously published the two books that I have authored. My first book, Davy Crockett, The Fabric of a Tennessee Hero. There have been many books written about Davy Crockett. I researched everything I could find about Davy Crockett and embellished the anecdotal scenario to offer a different perspective of how Davy's moral values, his strength of character through his early life and as a child up through adulthood came to be. Davy's values were always ruled and lived by his consciousness and his understanding of what is right and what is wrong. As a congressman, he worked tirelessly to explore issues of humanity. He always voted his conscience, even when it went against the beliefs of other congressmen, including voting against President Andrew Jackson in the relocation of all Native Americans, now known as the Trail of Tears. My book, Davy Crockett, The Fabric of a Tennessee Hero, can be found at deepreadpress.com, amazon.com, and in big box stores like Barnes & Noble. My second book is about my great-uncle. It is titled Wild Bill Donahoe, From Corrupt Cop to Raceway Mogul. My great-uncle Bill began life in Jackson County, Tennessee. The family was very poor and had many mouths to feed. When he became of age to leave the small town of Jennings Creek, he moved to Nashville and became a barber. Through the comings and goings of the shop, he met many influential people. Some used their influence to help him become the youngest man ever hired as a police officer with the Davidson County Police Department. He strove to do his best and disciplined himself toward perfection. When World War II began, he was drafted into the Navy, where he ultimately became an instructor of gunnery and all sharpshooting. When the war ended, he came back to Nashville, resumed his career with the Davidson County Police Department. Over the years, he moved up the ranks of the department to assistant police chief. Once he retired, the federal government came after him with an Al Capone vengeance. He was charged with tax evasion. He pled not guilty. His insistence on his innocence converged with 2 trials, ultimately being passed on to the Supreme Court. But they refused to hear the case. He was sentenced to 4 months in prison. After his release, he set all his energy on promoting Nashville racing. His ingenuity, idealism, and dedication to his new career created one of the largest racing scenes in the world. It was his brilliance as a negotiator that brought NASCAR to Tennessee. His motto was never give up, never give in. He demanded the best quality service for all who worked for him. His vision brought millions of tourists to Tennessee. In his effort to serve others, he led the way for other racing venues to be built and modeled after Nashville's Fairground Speedway. As an officer of the law, he always stated he was not guilty of any wrongdoing. Whether he was truly guilty or openly innocent, his service to Nashville, the state of Tennessee, and throughout his life is undeniable. He left his imprint upon everything he did. He pushed for perfection, and it made him one of the great men of Tennessee. Wild Bill Donahoe, From Corrupt Cop to Raceway Mogul, can be found at deepreadpress.com, amazon.com, and big box stores like Barnes & Noble. Deep Read Press is a great company to work for. I am now working on my 3rd book, and I hope to work with Deep Read Press for many years to come. I hope you have enjoyed my words celebrating all authors of this great publishing company. If you have a manuscript you would like to have evaluated for publishing, I encourage you to reach out to Deep Read Press for an honest evaluation of your manuscript. Deep Read Press prides itself in not fleecing its authors for any payment. Deep Read Press is truly an authentic, honest company that upholds and values complete integrity. Thank you for listening. Again, I'm Sheena Wilder.
Deep Read Press author Jeffrey Perrin has written a terrific novel about a man who was accused of murder. And the person that was supposedly murdered was him. Here is Jeffrey to read a portion of his book.
Death is Overrated by Jeffrey Perrin. Chapter 1. Thomas didn't plan to end up dead on his vacation. To the contrary, he kept insisting the man lying lifeless on the ground was not Thomas Paine. Couldn't be, since he was. It was just bad luck that the Brecon detective on the scene was as dense as a Welsh peat bog. Detective Inspector Bedward knelt on the moss outside Danir Ogoff Cave and leaned over the dead body. He rifled through its backpack, barely still attached, and culled a passport from an inside sleeve. After inspecting the document, then the body again, he declared that the stiff was indeed Thomas Paine, like it or not. The animated Dr. Paine didn't like it at all. He argued at length, but nothing moved the copper. He gave his home address in the United States. He described his Cardiff laboratory an hour south of Brecon. He even leaned over and held out his thumbs for comparison to the passport print. Bedward eyed the thumbs suspiciously, then transferred his gaze to the eyes of the man holding them out. U.S. passports have no thumbprints, sir. Thomas, his gut clenched from a suspicion-inducing error, said nothing. The inspector closed one eye and clamped his mouth, his lips forming two lines devoid of nuance, like his thinking. After all, why should he doubt? He had Thomas Paine's passport in hand, taken right off the body, and the victim's face, the half still intact after an apparent fall from the cliff above, matched the photo pretty well. He'd even bet his partner that the lab would say the thumbprints matched. He laid the passport on the body and leaned over. "Do you mind?" he asked, snatching one of Thomas's still proffered thumbs. He pressed this digit to his ancient field-issue ink pad, then pushed it onto a small white card. "It pays to be sure," he always said. He didn't offer an alcohol wipe as he closed the pad and put it back in his pocket along with the card. He ignored his partner's sneer as the junior inspector wagged the biometric tablet like a fan. "Never trust 'em," Bedward growled. Thomas looked aghast at his purple thumb, then back down at the detective, as if the man had stolen his soul. Branded like a criminal, like his father. He tensed to keep from shaking, but it only made his tremors worse. The detective inspector made another close examination of the Boshy. He was careful, a sort who rarely made mistakes, or so he'd swear. By contrast, Detective Sergeant Bevan, now taking down accounts from the milling spelunkers nearby, swore often, in both senses. Profanity passed his lips as often as Welsh whiskey. He'd swear in court, too, if necessary. To anything. Anything for the pleasure of seeing men he despised put away. And he loathed this lot on sight. Jammy University, gits. Privileged pansies, in his view.
Connie Howe was the first Deep Read Press author from outside the United States. British by birth, she moved to Australia some years ago. Deep Read Press has published 3 of her books. The first was a self-help title called Perfectly Imperfect, How to Be Imperfect and Remain Lovable. She has also published 2 volumes of verse through us. One is called Soul Deep, and the other is Thoughts of a Wounded Healer. Her self-help title takes a little different view of things than your ordinary self-help title. Her verse is raw, honest, and beautiful. Here is Connie talking about her book, Perfectly Imperfect.
Hello everyone, my name is Connie Howell. I'm a Deep Read Press author, and I'd like to talk to you about my book, Perfectly Imperfect, How to Be Imperfect and Remain Lovable. This book has been described as part memoir, part self-help, and I believe it also can be used as a workbook, because at the end of each chapter I have posed questions for reflection. And if you answer these questions honestly, you will find that you may have belief systems that are working against you. And when you realize what these belief systems are, you can actively change them. Then you can change your life. I was a guest on the Judith Mancini Today show, where we talked about the book for about 40 minutes. You can see this interview on YouTube. I was also a guest on the Writers' Lounge, the blog radio show. The book was then later nominated for the Writers' Lounge Bookshelf Award. I'd like to give you an example of the types of questions that I have posed for your reflection. So these are the questions after Chapter 1. Do I need to be perfect to be lovable? Where did I get the idea that in order to be loved and accepted, I have to be perfect? Is that notion true? What changes in thinking do I need to make to feel okay the way I am? What do I believe about love and self-worth? What is perfection? How do I define it? Can I allow myself to slip up and make mistakes and still feel okay about myself? Everyone makes mistakes. That's how we all learn. Through these pages, you will read my story about the hardships I've suffered in life, but also how I overcame them. I learned to forgive people and myself. You too can do this. The book is easy to read. There are no hard concepts. And sometimes you'll find that there are very raw recollections that I've shared with you. I've tried to be as honest as I can. In that way, I think it gives you permission to own and face some of your own hardships and how to overcome them. If you've ever suffered the pain of perfectionism, you will know what it's like to be something that you aren't, just to fit in, and most of all, to be loved. You'll find this book quite relatable, and you'll even say sometimes, wow, that applies to me. You can find this book on the Amazon site relevant to your country, or on the Deep Read Press website. Also, you can find it on my own website, which is www.conniehowell.com.au. I'm originally from Britain, but I've lived in Australia for 50 years. I live in the Blue Mountains west of Sydney with my Australian husband, Walter. I hope you enjoy reading Perfectly Imperfect, How to Be Imperfect and Remain Lovable.
Derek McClard is a school teacher here in Macon County, Tennessee. Last year, as a school project, he had his students write a collection of short stories, which Deep Read Press eventually published. The stories are remarkable since they were written by teenagers, but what makes them remarkable even still is the depth and the maturity of these stories. Here's Derek to talk a little bit about this book.
My name is Derek McClard. I'm a 7th grade English teacher at Macon County Junior High School. Last year I had a class of 18 honors students, 7th and 8th graders, who wrote and published a book. We began before Christmas brainstorming ideas, and then after writing first drafts and sharing our first drafts with students, shared with each other and with me and our publisher, after several one-on-one sessions and revisions, we published the book through Deep Read Press, and it proved to be a wonderful learning experience for the students. They did a lot of hard work. They learned a lot about collaborating with each other and revising their work, and all in all, it was a great experience for everyone involved. There are 15 short stories in the collection written by 18 writers. 2 additional students contributed artwork for the front cover of the book. The stories deal with a variety of subjects, everything from murder mysteries to the backstory for the Bigfoot myth, to a day in the life of a student with cerebral palsy, even a World War II story concerning the experiences of the sailors aboard the USS Indianapolis.
Now for what you've been waiting for. This week's contest word is bestseller. The third person who emails us at deepreaderclub@gmail.com with the word bestseller wins a free book. That is DeepreaderClub@gmail.com. Now, if you are not a member of the Deep Reader Club and you'd like to be, just go to our webpage, www.deepreadpress.com, and near the bottom, there's a little form. You just type in your email address, hit send, and you'll become a member of the club. You don't have to provide any kind of personal information at all, not even your name. It's absolutely free. Deep Read Club members get our 2 quarterly newsletters, 2 catalogs, and chances to win a lot of prizes, free gifts, discounts, all kinds of things. It is well worth your while. So we hope that you become a member of the Deep Reader Club very soon. By the way, currently we have more than 3,500 members. Thank you for listening to the Deep Read Press Show. You can find all the books discussed today and more than 50 others at the Deep Read Press website, www.deepreadpress.com. Until next week, friends, keep smiling.
Are you like me and you like great books? Well, I found a place that has a lot of great books. A traditional publisher right up in Macon County, Deep Read Press. DeepReadPress.com, that's the website to find out exactly what they have. And again, they got traditional books. They are a traditional publisher. Deep Read Press does a lot of things that I particularly like, and most of them has to do with great books. So if you're looking for a publisher to publish, or if you're just looking for a place to find a lot of great books, it's Deep Read Press at deepreadpress.com.